After months of waiting, of time and speculation of when this trailer is going to drop, the Spider-Man brand new day trailer has finally dropped today, and we break it down here. We go over certain scenes and details that may lead to possible spoilers, possible heavy spoiler warning on this video, but let's break it down. We start off on a sky beam and Peter is upside down on it, and he's watching a video of Ned and MJ about their first day at MIT, thinking about the life he is missing out on with Ned and MJ, and that his life is literally and metaphorically turned upside down. But he doesn't have very many days for being Peter Parker, so he has to suit up as Spider-Man. The next shots of him falling down and using his POV from the inside of his mask, it already shows you that this movie is going to be shot and feel totally different from the previous John Watt trilogy. And the Destin Daniel Cretton is definitely cooking something with this. Next scenes is Peter narrating his life, and then as he's seeing his friends out in public, well, in the midst of being Spider-Man, and as you can see, he is accepting the key to the city and from a new mayor, it looks like. So something happens to Mayor Fisk in Daredevil season 2 that they just straight out spoiler in this, or Fisk is just not mayor at the end of it. But you can obviously tell that it's very hard for Peter to see his friends out in public, or he's just watching them and keeping an eye on them as he does later in the trailer. This whole next sequence of Spider-Man running off the building to go into an action scene, swinging very similarly to Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, and then also running into Frank, or literally Frank running him over with a van and having their little altercation, where you get to see kind of how they're going to treat Frank Castle's situation in this movie, where he's not going to be the loudmouth he usually is, and he's going to get censored by being webbed in the mouth. But it's cool to see these two characters intercrossing with each other and how their dynamic will be throughout the film. It seems like in this scene that Ned and MJ are having some type of party, and you can see that Peter is watching MJ as she has a possible new love interest or a guy flirting with her. If it's him, I swear. If it's Paul, I swear. But he's keeping an eye on her, and you can see that he's really physically struggling with this, because of course he just wants to tell them who he really is and how they have known him previously. We'll wait and see to see if he actually does that by the end of the film, or at least tells MJ. Now this is the part where things are gonna get really cool. You see Peter is sort of sick, or something has happened to him. It looks like he just was through a battle because the side of his head is bleeding. I'm not sure, maybe this is after a fight with Scorpion. He gets stung and he's dealing with the poison effects from him, and maybe this is what it is that triggers Peter's metamorphosis phase, because he falls over sick and then wakes up being in a web cocoon outside, and he produces organic webbing, because as you can see, he does not have his web shooters, but he still spuns up a web without them. Now this happened in the comics before, where he has had to switch between web shooters or organic webbing, and it's cool to see that he's not going to be the only Spider Bro that will have organic webbing. Poor Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. His powers are in a flux, so he decides to meet up with Bruce Banner, aka Hulk, and he's getting all these types of scans, which is probably from Bruce's machine. And then Bruce talks to him about mutation, and you can see that more of Peter's powers are in flux as he goes through the water barrel, which probably proved difficult throughout the film, not being able to control his powers. Peter Parker classic, where he is visiting Aunt May's grave. This next sequence of scenes all correlate together, because this is showing the mystery behind Sadie Sink's character, which a lot of people believe is Jean Grey, and it's starting to support this as you can see that someone is jumping the minds of people in the tankard scene, because Peter rips off the tank door and it's just a random old lady, and then it switches between some military guys, and then you get a behind shot of Sadie Sink's character at a computer. So there's definitely a lot of hands at play. And finally, we get to see Michael Mando dressed up in his Scorpion costume, or at least the first prototype suit, and him and Peter fight. I'm assuming this will be right before the scene that Peter gets stung, because that's a Spider-Man classic as well, where he has to deal with Scorpion's venom sting. I'm just so excited because this has been teased since Spider-Man Homecoming. It's been 10 years in the making about, and I just hope the fight proves fruitful. You see that Peter's web swinging is also even in flux because he can't swing correctly. There's more tankard scenes or a montage montage where he's running into the bus and failing. Another shot of Frank saying that he's messing up or something's up with him. And then a shot between him and MJ on a rooftop together, looking like they're gonna have some sort of conversation. Maybe MJ is piecing together her broken memories. It's yet to be revealed if her and Ned still have the memories of helping Spider-Man, which would make sense because they would remember Spider-Man, but just not Peter Parker. And maybe she starts to piece it together again with that weird interaction she has with Peter throughout the movie, or seeing him multiple times. Maybe by the end of the movie, she does figure it out again, and that's the start of their new relationship. You get these classic comic book cover shots with Amazing Fantasy number 15, the Amazing Spider-Man number 345 when he's going against Boomerang, and then the Amazing Spider-Man 134 when he's going against Tarantula. Spider-Man going against the hand in the prison, which I'm so excited to see how they're gonna incorporate hand-to-hand combat as well in this film, because you got Jackie Chan's stunt team helping out with this movie, and then of course Destin Daniel Cretton directed Shang-Chi, so you know we're gonna be in for a treat with combat style or hand-to-hand combat. You also get a shot of Peter's eyes turning red of some sort, or a dark red, and a lot of people got confused about this being black and thinking that the symbiote is taking over Peter, but I think this has to do with his metamorphosis phase, where he could get really close at turning into Man Spider. Maybe we'll get a scene or a dream sequence where he has 6 arms, or a dream sequence where he turns into this monster, or it'll actually come to fruition where he'll turn into the Man Spider for a moment and someone will have to pull him out of it. And the final shot is Peter showing up to what it seems to be Ned and MJ's apartment while they're having their party, and he has brought flowers, and he explains to MJ that he's just a neighbor down the hall. She makes the corny joke of a friendly neighbor, which of course references Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. But what is interesting is it looks like she's wearing Black Dahlia necklace still that Peter had given her in Far From Home. Very similar to the end of No Way Home, where Peter and her have their final exchange and she reminisces, trying to rack her brain of seeming like she met him before. And I think that's what's going to start happening again, is she's going to start piecing things together, or that there seems to be more of Peter than meets the eye. This trailer definitely needed to hit hard and be running with the movie release with being only 4 months away, and it absolutely succeeded at that, with feeding our nerd brains. And I'm so excited to see more, what things we can uncover, speculate about, and find even more Easter eggs or hidden details, because there's definitely some points in this trailer that looks like they could have been doctored or edited by removing characters from scenes that we will go over in the next video. But what did you guys think about the trailer? Let me know down in the comments below. Subscribe if you're new for more nerdy content like this, and it's so good to be in the next Spider-Man hype era again.